Hi, and welcome to Medical Malfunction. Oh, still a little butterscotchy. hmm Still in treatment. That's why I guess that's a little fatigue sound. If you can believe it, I was a little skeptical, but it's true. Um, my voice goes away when I get fatigued. I mean, literally. I lost my voice for 3 years once before I got that pancreatic cancer diagnosis. Wait, let me say it right. The neuroendocrine cancer of the pancreas. There we go. That one that they won't treat. And I haven't gotten to, I did get into it a little bit about my diagnosis in the Can You Say the Wrong Thing to a Cancer Patient video that I made with Mia Carlin, but that was a weird one. I was kind of surprised by that. But yeah, that happens. So anyway, I wanted to give an update on my medicine since I'm back in treatment. Oh, it feels like forever. But so far so good. I took my second dose of Keytruda yesterday, and I want to talk a little bit about a few things today because, as always, I'm not here to give the medical advice. I'm here to give you the navigation advice, and there are a number of things that seem to keep popping up, and so these will be helpful. And I'm going to make a series of shorts. There we go, series of shorts to talk about getting you ready for annual enrollment. And I'll make a couple of long ones too, because I know, like I always say, you know it's coming. You know you got to do it. So this year, hopefully, this will be a place where you can find some things. And, I've been answering these questions for so many years. I mean, and of course, I do annual enrollment myself, and I've kind of been a guinea pig on a few things. For instance, the year that the CDHPs or whatever, those high deductible, not copay, but the low, like premium high deductible, the years that, it was my first cancer diagnosis. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done? I bankrupted all of us, kind of idea. No, it wasn't like that. But no one knew that at the time, not even the people who, were the plan managers, the benefits managers. So it was kind of a scary thing I did. I'm so healthy though, or I was until that point. It was pretty funny. So I'm going to help you out with some of that. And so if you have any specific questions that you struggle with every year, and it's mostly going to be US focused, obviously. So there, because of course, if you're in another country, you don't have to worry about a lot of these things. But annual enrollment is our thing. Oh, and I'm wearing my World's Best X shirt, my Kim Best 2023 shirt. And I started to make a little bit, it's called Story Time. I'm going to do some of these where it teaches you how to listen, because you would be surprised how much you're actually hearing, but you're not really taking in. And I recorded one the other night. It was pretty fun. But I want to redo it because I want to give you a chance to see what you can hear for yourself. I was like, oh, I'm giving too many of the answers away, but I was having so much fun. And it's a good one. Maybe I'll do it next even. I did it with like a little blanket. It was cute. It was fun. I like story time because, like I said, it'll make you better. It'll make you better at life and dating, which dating is kind of where I'm going, but it'll help with a lot. But I want to get started here. Let me shut the hell up. That kid sure does things. But I want to start with I'm going to cover a couple of things. I want to talk about um, things to be wary of at work. And this is stuff I've always advised people about: what to disclose, what not to disclose, when to shut up about that. I'm going to talk about family for a second because I get this question a lot. I do so much by myself, and there is a good reason for that. I don't ever dox myself. I don't dox any institutions, um, but I'll disclose a little bit about that here today because I think it's important to understand. You might be in this situation, and it's perfectly okay to do things on your own if it's easier that way. Sometimes it is. Yeah. I want to talk about my initial medical oncologist, which I think in my last video I was saying how she's still in the mix. Now she ghosted me. I was like starting to realize that my oncologist was trying, like, when you're in cancer treatment, you have it's like it's kind of like your primary care provider, but for cancer, you have your medical oncologist who like oversees your whole case. And then like you have your specialty one, like, your radiation oncologist, your if you have ovarian cancer, you would have a gynecological or a vagинecological, if you like to be silly about it, oncologist. You have different types of specialists who do different parts of your treatment, but your overall medical oncologist oversees your case. And I was noticing some things already, and I thought that's kind of weird. She should be doing that paperwork or whatnot. And I was finally like, no, finally she just ghosted me altogether. I was like, wow, that's weird. I have thoughts about it, but yeah, I'm such a good patient to have. I mean, they're always the place where I go that's a prestige institution. I always make notes about that, and I have the official paperwork to prove not only just how compliant I am, but how nice and pleasant and not crazy or anything. Like, I've got all the paperwork to prove it, and the paperwork doesn't lie. So there's that. Like, why would anyone want to ghost me? But and clearly I'm a cash cow, right? I mean, got this issue going. Well, whatever. I got no answer. She won't even see me. Oh, interesting. I would at least want to know how I'm doing, but whatever. That's just my opinion about it. I think those are the main things I want to focus on. So I'll just hit those three notes. So we'll start first with okay. Let's talk about my nice room. So, in all the years that I've had to have chemotherapeutic regimens, I've never had one where I got a private room for my chemo regimen. And that kind of sucks because now that I've had one for this almost easy one, because I'm doing just the Keytruda, I'm like, oh, now I get the nice room, and I'm going to have to make a change soon too, because I don't really exactly want to keep doing this by myself. So I was just going to show you my nice little room. It's so cute because yesterday they were running behind, which this institution doesn't normally do. But look at my room. I got to watch the new Captain America. I didn't get to watch much of it because it's still a shorter infusion. But I grabbed this little, and they were like, "What kind of sandwich would you like? What kind of drink would you like? What kind of?" And I'm just like, at the last place I was getting infusions, they had a soda machine you had to pay for. Crackers if you were lucky. I used to bring all my work with me because they would hammer. I worked all my chemo treatments except for two, and my infusions were like 6 hours long. Yeah, I've got pictures of me working in that chemo chair. I worked all but two of them, and they did not make it easy at all. So yeah, yesterday was nice. I was like, I didn't even bring my computer. I mean, by the way, this is what FMLA is for. You're not supposed to work on your chemo days. They were just making it really difficult. So anyways, I just wanted to share this with you. I was like, oh, I've got this whole couch and this whole, yeah, I've never had a treatment facility like that. I usually have the like little circle. Anyway, so I was just like being appreciative of that. And then my regimen right now is just the Keytruda, which um I'm kind of excited about it, like, and I had to go through a lot to get it, by the way, because my other office got it canceled on me. I got three infusions before the end of the year last year, and then they got the boot for me. I was like, I don't know what they were doing. The whole thing seemed a little sketch to me. I don't know. I have opinions about it, but that's just me. But the short answer there is, that I got was that I was not following protocol, having to do with the fact that, they wanted me to do some sort of surgical intervention. And then I also did a radiation, which, I should not have been qualified to be able to do. But the prestige institution that I'm going to, I did do an update about this already. They came, I call it the Spider-Man. I call it the Spider-Man radiation because, radiation causes like the mouth stuff, the dental stuff that I'll get to, because I can give you some good advice about how to get dental stuff done. Um, And it's funny, somebody told me yesterday, they were like, yeah, they have this, this, and this, that they had to get a crown. I was like, exactly what I advise people about that, you know. And anyway, so on this particular one, what's interesting about the Keytruda is supposedly it helps with the neuroendocrine tumors of the pancreas. They're starting to use it for that. And I've just been going for function because they have not treated mine at all ever. It won't do anything for me, which has been very well. I'm going to use the last expert that I saw. He called it weird. So I'm just going to use his word, weird. And I agree because it has been such a nightmare to deal with. Symptom wise, I mean, that's not even talking about, expectancy. I'm just talking pure quality of life stuff. So I'm excited that I'm getting the Keytruda. I know most people would not be thrilled about it, but no, I'm like, I will take it. So there we go. So back on the Keytruda, and I've had 2 now, and I like to call it Keytruda mania because it does cause some interesting side effects for me. I know everything has certain effects, but for me, it tends to cause sleep disturbance. And that's another reason I got a little frustrated in my last office. It was 9 days of sleep disturbance, and I'm a good sleeper. So I know I'm very lucky there. I know a lot of people struggle with that, but they were not helpful. And that is not my experience in my current institution. So there you go. Thank you. Thank you. Just be grateful for everything. But also want to talk a little bit about what to worry about for your job. Oh, aloneness. And that kind of ties in. I might as well go there. Yeah, so that nice room is set up when I'm in a pediatric institution, a lot of those are set up for families. So most of those have rooms that kind of look like the one you just saw that I was because they have to. They're doing infusions on kids, so they need to have families around. But for adults, usually it's like maybe it's one big room. They might be in a circle facing each other. You might be lucky to get a little stool or a little extra chair, to sit there while I've never had anybody go with me. I was lucky to have it once. Yeah, it didn't really go that well. But the first time I had chemo treatment, nobody ever went with me. I was married at the time, 6 months out, and he left town, so he never went. That's good. It's not funny now. I just didn't really dawn on me at the time. I'm kind of stupid. Um, what else? And then at this particular moment, um, yeah, I was just trying to. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not really good at asking for help, and that has more to do with was not appreciated in my household as I was growing up, especially medical care, which is weird because one of my parents was a clinical provider. It's weird, but that's how it goes. And so I get this question a lot, and finally, one of my really good friends who lives right by the medical institution was like, why don't you? I said, I'm telling you, it'll be more difficult to include them. And so I guess one of my parents had heard about it, and this is a pretty serious diagnosis I'm dealing with at the moment. And I got an email out of nowhere just like, oh, hey, I heard about your diagnosis. Good luck. That's literally what it said. Does that see what I mean? Yeah, they're just not nice. I can't change that. But I am. So, I'm not going to let them change me. And that's the thing you have to remember. So if and then, I have a sibling, but they're not well themselves. And I don't mean that physically, I mean in other ways. So, when you're building your support system, you have to really consider, the consequences of that. And I'm sure some of you know exactly what I mean, because there's people that are going to make it all about them or make a meal out of you. And or they really don't care. And I don't, whether that's about them or that's about you, there's nothing you can really, I can't focus on that. I have to focus on getting better. But it's the handouts. That's funny. My friend always calls me Marilyn and the Munsters, Somehow I got that. I don't know. But I think that's a good analogy. But don't get me wrong, it still took me decades to really get free of. And don't get me wrong, I still have moments where I have to go check the mirror and realize there's not a monster looking back at me. Okay, still like a normal person there. Okay, good. So, but it's difficult, especially when you're in a situation like this and you don't have a support. You just don't. Even when I went through it the first time and the second time, the things I heard or didn't hear, never heard a word. Very strange. But it is what it is. And so the sooner you can accept the reality and make your reality what you need it to be to get better, the better off you'll be versus trying to shape, the people that are in your life that may not be capable of this into what you need. If it's not who they are, don't. Just don't. It's just going to take a toll on your health that you don't need. So think of it that way. And then once the person who had been asking me that saw the reality of, I was like, see what I mean? And they were like, okay, I get it now. I'm good. Stop bothering me about it. I already knew. So there's that. Now, let's talk about job stuff. This is an interesting one because we've talked about it a little bit already. I did made a video about Mind the Gap, looking at paperwork, keeping up with your dates, making sure you do not miss any, having things ticked and tied. Do not miss a gap in paperwork because they will come for your ass, And in my case, obviously, I know a lot about a lot of things, having to do with care. And, I've been at my job for a very long time. Does not matter. Most companies are self-insured, and mine happens to be one of those. And that's a majority, which basically means that, when you're walking around with your little, chronic condition or your little head cold, doesn't matter what it is, sinus infection, whatever it is, it's coming out of their pocket. You're that little dollar sign walking around. So that's why it's very important to keep your mouth shut. It's your business. HIPAA was enacted for a reason. FMLA was enacted for a reason. You have the right to take care. And, because we are in a country that has, employer-sponsored health insurance systems in place, then this is the way it's set up. So that has to be protected. And that means you have a right to privacy. So use that right and shut up. What are you doing? Now, in my case, this particular time, I was advised that I was going to have to disclose. And I didn't have to disclose quite as much as I did. But I mean, it was going to be pretty obvious. It's still pretty obvious. So there was that. But I mean, like I said, they've also made it really difficult. And I think they also tried to skate the system a little bit, or what's the word? Game the system a little bit. I think I mentioned already they tried to, they had me try to recertify my FMLA. And I'm only on intermittent FMLA. Like I said, I worked on most of my chemo days last year, and that was a harder chemo, really difficult. And I was not feeling good. And I worked through all my radiation. I don't think I took any days off for radiation. I mean, I just keep going. It seems safer that way, because if you lose your insurance, you lose your job, you lose continuity of care, right? Then you can't save your life. So, and they can just be dicks all day long. And trust me, that's not even the part that bothers me so much. I mean, that part is a clear worry, but I think Mia talked a little bit about some of the stuff she dealt with. She dealt with some direct bullying. I deal more with like just subhuman behavior, more like, I'm just not even going to get into it. It's just like, someone else stubs their toe and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm like, yeah, I had to have, this major surgery. And it's like, no one says a word ever. Although I will say twice this month, I did get let us know if you need any support, like the standard statement. And I did get somebody say, we're rooting for you. And I almost said, like, you're rooting for me to die, hurry up and die, bitch. I was like, it was in my head because that's how I hear it. That's how they behave. It's kind of weird, but it's true. They're just really not nice. I wish they were different, but they're just not is not nice. I don't know what to say, like human decency. It's kind of baseline. I didn't want to have to say this stuff, but I was, like I said, put in this position. I certainly didn't choose it. Who would? And like I said, I've seen how they are with other people with the exact same condition. And it's like, I saw how that ended, but they were so nice. I don't need a parade, but damn, human decency. I just look at it like, but yeah, it just seems like anytime treatment time comes around, they're extra dickish. I don't know what that's about. It's weird. I will say this, like I said, but remember it. Think of it like that. They're self-insured. You're the dollar sign. Oh, and we had this. Well, okay, I'm not gonna say it because that could be too close to toxic. I'll just say there was good or extra reason to even be worried this year. I will also say that, I will say, like, clearly I was bringing some attention to the fact that, you know, I was getting asked to recertify at times I should not have been. I'm like, you only have to recertify, every 6 months. And I was asked to do it the week before my chemo ended, right? My chemo was only 12 weeks. I was like, well, why do you need me to recertify? We just do. That's not an answer. So, I'm just document everything. I mean, really, don't play around with that stuff because the paper trail doesn't lie. But if you don't have it documented, some of the things that happen, it's very important that you do that. I mean, everything. I mean, just like things they ask you to do, like deadlines that get pushed or come out of nowhere, like when you're supposed, on cancer days, things like that, meeting requests, things like that, chemo days. You'd be surprised, but you won't be surprised. And I say that because even at the prestige institution where I go, um, they have the same types of issues. And again, that's what they do there, so think about it that way. You might be, working on the back of a trash truck in the middle of nowhere, or you might be at the top health institution in the country. You're going to have the same problem. So be mindful. People are dicks everywhere. Is that the conclusion we're coming to? But also document it. Write it down. And we had a little, I don't know, session where they were talking about like our vendors haven't been so great or whatever. And I'm like, well, that's one thing. But so maybe that's true. That could be accurate. There's usually someone in place who's supposed to be impartial, managing this process so that you don't have issues. I'm finding I've had issues on both sides, but I definitely had issues with what is the vendor also. So just FYI. And then there should be an intermediary in your human resources department who deals specifically with your FMLA vendor, with your disability vendor, short and long term, things like that. So if you're finding that you're having issues, and if your manager is, let's see, bullying was the word that Mia used. There was an issue there. Things like that. You can definitely, but you just have to be so careful too, because you don't want to be that problem person either, but make sure you're protecting yourself. It's very important. And now you understand why. Self-insured, right? Yeah, we have an insurance company. There's an insurance company there, but self-insured comes through that insurance company. Okay. I just want you to really be clear about it. So you are a cost. You're what's called a high utilizer, especially when you're going through something like a major treatment or a major health condition or a chronic health condition, or someone in your family is. This has happened too. Your spouse may be going through treatment. You're considered a high utilizer. You wouldn't think about it. This happens all the time. I'm telling you. I mean, very common. So you have to be on your best behavior, even though it doesn't seem fair. That's just the way the system is set up here. So work it. Be mindful of it. Protect your privacy. And if your privacy gets breached, document that. You should document formally. Absolutely. Do that too, because that is something that that's federally protected. The last thing I want to talk about is Let's see. Talked about the oncologist ghosting. I think I said enough about that. I felt like there was something else about that. I guess the one thing I do want to say though is like, even though that's not part of the prestige medical system, definitely is considered top of the food chain, top provider. The same. So the best isn't always the best. Figure out how that gets figured out, you know? And if your gut is telling you things are, then really start thinking about it. There is also something about like once you're at a certain point in your treatment, you can't change providers, they won't do it. Like say if you're in the middle of your chemo, you can't like change. So you need to make your decisions like at the right time. I think that's pretty much the stuff I wanted to cover about my medicine at this point though. I'll do the story time and some other things that I have coming up and start doing the shorts about annual enrollment because it's coming. But hopefully some of this will get you thinking about things that you should or shouldn't say, should or shouldn't do, things you got to keep your eye on about. Because, yeah, most people don't think like this, but it's very true. And also, remember to be the world's best ex. And Kim Congdon had a week. She was out there in the news a little bit. She was good about not doxing, but people are not stupid, and bad behavior definitely bites you in the butt. I love her. She is so funny. Oh my God. Says women aren't funny. She's funny. Anyway, so I'm so glad you're here. Glad I'm here. Oh my God. Tiki chewed us down, and that chicken salad sandwich was good, dang it. Didn't get to finish the movie, so I have no review for that. Oh well. But anyway, I'll see you guys soon. More to come. Lots more to come with annual enrollment, too. So here we go. Decisions. But anyway, time to go out there and get some good medicine and give some good medicine. Yeehaw!